The content you're about to enjoy comes from the archives of The Best You. We're devoted to the very best in personal development, with a platform and resources dedicated to inspiring and changing people's lives. At The Best You, we work with the world's leading writers and trainers on the evolution of the self, and people whose journeys have been affected by their work and words. For more information, go to www.thebestyou.co. Simon SInek. Simon SInek is a British-American author, motivational speaker, and organizational consultant. He is the author of 4 books, including Start With a Why in 2009. SInek was born in Wimbledon, England, and as a child he lived in Johannesburg, London, and Hong Kong before settling in the United States. He studied law at London City University. One of his TED Talks has close to 40 million views. My work with him, well, I basically read Start With a Why a few years ago. It was like 3-4 years ago now. And it had a tremendous impact. It is definitely, without a doubt, one of the best books that I've read. Especially anything really. But if you're an entrepreneur, it's such a great book. So anyone and everyone that works in my team, I give them a copy of Start With a Why. Anyone that I've coached or trained or mentored, I give them a copy of that, or I recommend that they read it. It's a fantastic book. And it's a game changer. So I'm a massive fan of Simon. So when I had the opportunity to interview him, it was just, I was so excited. So I hope you enjoy it. I did this podcast a few years ago, but always current. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoy it. Hi, Simon.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fine, thanks.
So thank you so much for the opportunity, Simon.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for helping me spread my message.
No, brilliant. Thank you very much. I spoke to Darren yesterday and telling him I'm a big fan anyway, so I bought your book and all my staff get a copy when they join the company. So,
oh, wonderful. Thank you very much.
No, thank you. Simon, you were originally born in the UK.
I am originally from the UK, indeed.
Yes, and your parents, where were they from?
My parents are both English.
Both English, yeah? Okay. And you were in the UK part-time and then you moved on. You went to South Africa. Tell me about your early years.
Lived all over the world as a kid. Lived in England, South Africa, back to England, Hong Kong, and then to America. Lived all my formative years in America. Went back to England for a couple of years and then have been back in the States ever since. Okay. And what was school like for you? Was it something that you enjoyed? Was there any particular subjects that you stood out in? Not really.
No?
I mean, I liked school because I liked learning, and I liked teachers. You know, I got along very well with my teachers, I was a good student. I wasn't the best, but I wasn't the worst. I was fine, but I enjoyed school.
Was there anybody in particular that inspired you in your early years?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think we all have a couple of teachers that stand out, you know. I have one by the name of Doc Sharatsky who took a liking to me, he was one of these guys who just sort of encouraged me to follow the things that I wanted to do and took risks on me and, sort of encouraged my love of the arts and things like that. I had a lot of teachers who sort of always gave me the benefit of the doubt. Like if I did badly on a test, they would say to me, "Come on, Simon, you can do better than that." You know, I was pretty lucky. There are a couple of teachers in college that were particularly formative as well. I had one named Professor Jacobson who really, really pushed me to recognize that just because somebody else has PhD at the end of their name doesn't mean they're right. And if you can form a good, strong argument against something, you should make that argument. You know, so he really taught me how to speak truth to power.
Right. And as you grow older, was there a particular time or situation or something? Did you have? I mean, I come across a lot of people and they say that they've had a turning point. Did you have a turning point?
Yes, absolutely. It was how the whole why thing came to exist. I owned a small strategic marketing business. And superficially, everything was good. I made a decent living. I had amazing clients. We did good work. But I didn't feel it. I'd lost the excitement. I'd lost the joy. And all the energy I had went into pretending that I was happier, more successful, and more in control than I felt or that I was. And it was the discovery of this thing called the why that really was simply just to help me solve my own problem. That became a big turning point for me and sort of set my career in an entirely new path.
There's a lot I want to ask you about the book, but in particular, what drives you now? What is your drive?
Well, I wake up every single morning to inspire people to do what inspires them. I mean, I know it sounds corny and cheesy, but it's real. I mean, it says on my bathroom mirror, "Today you will inspire someone." You know, like I literally am reminded of it every morning when I look in the mirror. It is what I believe. And I've surrounded myself with people who share my vision of a world in which the vast majority of people wake up every single morning inspired to go to work, feel safe and cared for when they're there, and return home at the end of the day fulfilled by the work that they do. And anything I can do to advance that vision is to me worth doing.
Thank you. So what would you say your best assets are?
I have nice eyes. There's a few things that I think, a couple of gifts that I have that I think that have helped me. One is I can see patterns in lots of seemingly disconnected information. And so when other people go through life and I see patterns of connection, which has allowed me to sort of see opportunities in how the world works. And the other gift I think that I have is to put what the patterns I see into words so that others can see what I can see. Because I know a lot of people who can see stuff, but they can't get it out. And I know a lot of people who can speak, but they don't say much, you know? And so I think I'm very, very lucky that I can see these patterns, but I can put them into words so that other people can see what I can see.
Would you say that you're more visual, or are you? Is it obviously based on the why? Are you more kinesthetic? Are you somebody that feels it? You get the gut, as you call it, the gut feeling.
And what do you mean by visual?
Well, in NLP, for example, when you were just saying that a lot of people can't see it, so you view things in your mind. And then, obviously, as you were saying, then you're able and capable of translating it. So,
yeah.
Do those thoughts come to you as do you imagine them? Do you visualize them? Kind of the whole concept, the end concept, or is it kind of a feeling that comes through?
I don't know what the difference is. I mean, I have a sense that something is right, and I very much am future oriented. You know, I don't think in days and weeks and months. I think in sort of in years and decades. It's just how I see the world. I'm always too far ahead.
Too far ahead. Okay.
And so if you call that visual, then I might be that. But I'm a gut operator too. But no, I tend to see I tend to see the direction I'm going in.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. By your language, I can definitely I can see it myself. In your talks, you talk about first why and then trust. Can you explain a little bit about that, please?
So trust is an outcome. You know, you can't tell people to trust you. But when people feel that you share the same values and beliefs, it lays the foundation for a trusting relationship to exist. From there, you have to operate in a manner that fits your values and beliefs. And if you behave in a way consistent with your values, then people will say you are trustworthy because you become predictable and recognizable, you know, and reliable. But before any of that can happen, there has to be the foundation of values and beliefs.
How did you come up with the circle of trust? Sorry.
Especially in a company. Especially in a company.
Okay.
Especially in an organization. You know, for the most trusted organizations stand for something. There's an express set of values and beliefs that they uphold, and this is the basis upon which we trust them. Without that, just being consistent alone, without that sense, just makes you reliable, but necessarily you can't develop that deep sense of trust. You know, where you would make yourself, you would put yourself in a position of vulnerability. You know, there's a difference between trust and reliability.
Yeah. If you're interested in working with me, contributing to the magazine, maybe speaking at any of our many events around the world, partnering or licensing The Best You, go to www.thebestyou.co. We say that we need the whys need the hows. when you've come across, and I know in your book, obviously, you've done a lot of research with loads of companies, but what would you say, what's the level of distribution on the companies like, these visionary, pioneering, leading companies? What would you say the percentage are of whys and hows?
That's a good question. I've never really investigated it. I think the why folks tend to be, it's a Venn diagram. There are very few people who are purely one or the other, But I think I would say that the real sort of pure why guys tend to be in the minority.
In the minority, yeah?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. How did you come up with the circle of trust? Sorry, the circle of trust, the circle. How did you come up with it originally?
Circle of safety.
The circle of safety.
It was, It all of my work is semi-autobiographical, and so I'd gone on a trip to Afghanistan with the United States Air Force to go and observe the work that they do, to try and just learn more about them as a culture. And everything on our trip went wrong, and I was struck by the level of trust that these servicemen and servicewomen have for each other. If you think about it, in work we call each other coworkers and colleagues. In the military, they call each other brothers and sisters. There's a deeper kind of relationship. And so it got me asking the question, how come they trust each other more than people trust each other in the private sector? Are they better people? Is it something in the people, or is it something else? And so it piqued my curiosity, and I started trying to understand them, which led me down the path of trying to understand where trust actually comes from. And I realized that trust is not about the people, it's about the environment. We are social animals, and we respond to the environments we're in. And when the conditions are right, we naturally trust and cooperate. And when the conditions are wrong, when there is no circle of safety, when we actually fear the people with whom we work, or we can't, we don't fear that they're looking at, we don't believe that they have our interests in mind, the natural response to those conditions are cynicism, paranoia, mistrust, and self-interest. So it really is, it is environmental. That's why the culture of an organization is so important. Because if you get the culture right, trust and cooperation are normal. If you get the culture wrong, cynicism, paranoia, mistrust, and self-interest are normal.
That's great. Thank you, Simon. You say that the single greatest challenge of an organization will face is success.
Yeah.
Can you explain a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, sure. I mean, when you're struggling to make it, you're fueled by things like vision and shared struggle, and innovation is born out of the lack of resources and all of this stuff, and it really tests the ingenuity of a human being, and the ability for a team to come together to solve a common problem and share a common cause. When an organization is successful and they're flush with cash and they have resources up the wazoo, it seems to put a strange damper on things. If you think about it, big companies with lots of money are less innovative than small companies with no money. And if big companies want to innovate, they tend to buy the small companies, And it seems counterintuitive that the organizations with all the people, all the money, and all the resources actually are not the innovative ones. And so I think one of the biggest challenges is, that our visions have to be greater than the resources we have available, because that's what forces the ingenuity. And large companies tend to make goals, even if they're big goals, well within their resources, where little companies have delusions of grandeur, and I think that's part of the fuel. And for individuals as well, if we achieve personal success, we start to believe that it's us. And we forget all of the help that we had along the way. And we forget all the relationships that we had to foster and build along the way. And we start to believe that we're special. And so I think success can be quite a dangerous thing. That's why humility is special, right? Whether it's at an organizational or individual level, we like the humble because they appreciate that their success, their individual success, is the result of the help and support of many people. Even for companies that have humility, they recognize that their individual success is the result of all the hard people who work there and all the customers who gave to them. They don't think it's just their genius. Hubris is a dangerous thing.
With a lot of the companies that you've studied and you've researched in your book, and I'm sure a lot of them maybe have changed or are changing or evolving, which out of all the companies that you studied, which would stand out for you? Which would be the best, the most inspiring companies from your point of view?
There's a handful. I'm a huge fan of this company called Barry Waymiller, which is based in St. Louis, Missouri. They're pretty spectacular. And when I first went to visit their factories, I met people who took care of each other and loved their jobs. These are just average factory workers, but they're not average. They're remarkable human beings. And at the end of my tour of this remarkable company, the CEO, Bob Chapman, sort of asked me, "What did you think?" And my reaction to him was, I can no longer be accused of being a crazy idealist if what I imagine exists in reality.
That's great.
Next Jump is a company I've written about, and also a company I admire a great deal. There's a company called the Luck Companies. There's a handful. All of them, the thing they have in common is they all understand and value the importance of their own people. And it's not just lip service. They make decisions that prioritize their people, where they take care of their people, where they implement systems to help their people grow and become better human beings, quite frankly. Mm. And the people who work there feel it and are grateful and commit themselves tirelessly to see that company is successful, because they know the company is doing the same for them.
Mm. To find out more about our latest projects, get a free coaching lesson, or download my book, go to www.bernardo-moya.com. A couple of questions, like, for example, I'm not really familiar with some of the programs that you're planning in doing or so, but if you had a 7-day program for leaders, for students and for business people,
sure, what
would that look like?
So I think some of the leadership techniques that are often taught are not really leadership, they're management. Leadership is a human enterprise. And so some of the things that we teach and should be taught when we teach leadership are things like listening. How to actually listen, how to practice empathy, which means considering somebody else in the equation. So, for example, you're standing in the lift and you're running late for a meeting and the doors start to close and somebody starts running for the lift. What do? Many of us sort of shrug and apologize and make a funny face, but we don't actually hold the doors open, Well, leadership means you actually consider the person who's running for the meeting, running for the lift, not just you standing late for your meeting, right? It's the ability to consider the other people around you, not just your own priorities. These are the kinds of things that can all be taught. How to present, how to speak in a manner that inspires people rather than just give them facts and figures. All of these are elements of good leadership. How to solve problems by taking advantage of the skills of the people around you, asking for help. These are all skills that can be taught and should all be built into any good leadership program.
That's brilliant, Simon. Thank you so much. And, I hope you do decide to do some 7-day programs, and I'd love to attend them or help you put them out there. So that's great. We're obviously very keen, and, we part of what we do is make sure that we provide ideas, techniques, tips, inspiration to others. So kind of our thoughts is what are your thoughts? Kids coming out of university now, somebody that's just got unemployed in their late 30s, 40s. What do you think the best assets are now to have moving forward in life?
Yeah, that's a great question. The assets that were valued coming out of, I think the modern business practices that are quote unquote normal today really come out of the 80s and 90s. Mm. You have to remember these were boom years, right? And it was a lot of strategies and tactics built for short-term gain in boom years. But it doesn't create stability and it doesn't create healthy organizations. So I think the assets that will be valuable into the next generation are the human skills. Hard skills can be taught, and so can human skills. But human skills are much more important now than ever before, especially as so many of the ways in which we do business is from behind screens. Leadership happens in the hallways, not from behind a desk. And so people who have a genuine curiosity for others, people who have a genuine interest in the lives of others, people who practice empathy, people who are good listeners, people who are good at asking questions, people who are willing to sacrifice their interests for the good of others. They enjoy seeing others grow. these really are the skills that will, not when practice, will really put someone far and away above and beyond in the coming years, because we know that the strategies and tactics used from the 80s and 90s just aren't working anymore. They're just not working anymore. I can't tell you how many companies I hear who talk about the problem they have with engagement inside their companies. Their employees aren't engaged. Well, what do you expect when you use redundancies to balance the books every year? You know, what do you expect when your shareholder is more important than the people who actually work at your company? You know, a fair-weathered fan is more important than the players on the team. You know? So I think the skill set of understanding the inside of an organization is going to be the skill set required to succeed in the future.
That's great, Russ. Thank you. I'm sure you've learned a lot of different things, but what would you say kind of the most important thing you've learned in life?
Success is a team sport. You know, I'd say that one of the biggest lessons I learned is I don't have to know all the answers, and I don't have to pretend I do. People don't trust you when you offer your help. People trust you when you ask them help from them. You know, when you ask for help, that's when trust is built. And I've really, the biggest lesson I've learned is anything I want to achieve in the world is going to take the commitment of other people. And you can't buy commitment. You know, there's no amount of money that can buy loyalty. And that really is what it takes. It takes committed and loyal people who are inspired by your vision and want to contribute their talents to see a shared cause advance. That's been the biggest lesson of my life.
Thank you. If you could meet anyone from the past or present, and I'm sure you met a lot of the present, but who would you like to meet?
I mean, it's probably the same. It's the same list as everybody else. You know, I think we all have the same list. Yeah. You know, it's some of the people who stand out, who actually achieved something great, who took a risk. You know, Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi. I mean, it's the usual. It's the usual. I think Winston Churchill probably would be a hoot to meet. You know, I don't think my list is that different from anybody else.
Okay. Tell me about your new book, Leaders Eat Last.
Yeah. So Leaders Eat Last, Start With Why explores the thing that brings us together, the common cause. And Leaders Eat Last explores what you do when you have the people. Now that you've attracted them, what do you do? How do you create an environment in which people will come together and trust each other and naturally cooperate? What does that take? And it also delves into some of the mistakes we've made and how things can so easily spiral out of control. But it's really a book about trust and cooperation.
Brilliant. Great title. I love one of Stephen Covey's quotes about, you know, life is about living, loving, and leaving a legacy. What would you like your legacy to be?
You know, I like the idea of people waking up every morning to think about what they can do for someone else. You know, imagine going to work where everybody you work with woke up that morning to think how they can help you be better at your job, how you can grow, how you can become more self-confident, how they can help you learn new skills, and how they can offer you an opportunity to help them when they're struggling. You know, what an amazing opportunity. I imagine a world in which, you know, people wake up every day, come to work thinking about each other. I hope I can contribute to that.
Brilliant, Simon. Well, that was my last question.
I hope that was helpful, Bernardo.
Thank you, Simon. Take care.
Thanks. All the best.
All the best to you. Bye.
Bye.
For more information, go to www.thebestyou.co.